Hey everybody, welcome to Gossip Finance. I just want to do a quick video today. I saw this and it kind of drove me insane. I don't know if you guys knew this. We haven't covered the Palestinian and Israel conflict very much, but in case you guys didn't know, Israel's been kind of annexing that whole area of the Middle East for a long time. They've sort of spread out and pushed out a lot of the Palestinian people out, and it got so bad. I mean, it's so bad for years and years, but the UN declared it years ago that it's an apartheid state, and has basically condemned Netanyahu and the Israeli government for their treatment of the Palestinian people. And since then, there was Hamas, who was one of the radical, sort of more terrorist organizations, terrorist organization it was, in Palestine, kidnapped some people, attacked Israel. Israel responded by basically bombing and attacking Gaza. They killed, last I heard, was over 30,000 civilians. They've been starving the people out. They cut off their electricity. They've been trying to cut off aid. Biden's tried to send aid, but Biden, remember, we fund Israel and we arm them. And the fact that Biden hasn't really done much about it has been very frustrating for a lot of people, and I understand that. He really should have stepped up more. I agree. But this movement was trying to withhold votes from Vice President Harris's election to try and put pressure on her. And let me just show you a clip, just so you know I'm not full of it here.
Remarkable unity and the party getting behind Harris, but for pro-Palestinian activists and demonstrators, they also want to bring that point up here on the convention floor, and they want answers from Harris on Gaza, and we spoke to some of them yesterday.
We've got 30 uncommitted delegates that are representing over 740,000 uncommitted voters nationwide who voted uncommitted as a pro-peace, anti-war vote in the
So this is Abbas al-Wahi. I want you to remember him for a second because he was one of the main guys running this. So they got 700,000 people, over 700,000 people, during the convention, delegates to vote against this. And there were 37 delegates with 700,000 votes to vote against Vice President Harris, or not vote for her, in order to put pressure on her to take a stronger stance on the Israel-Palestine conflict. Here's my issue with that. And I've had arguments with these people online, and they've contacted us. Here's the problem. It was either going to be Harris or Trump. There wasn't going to be a third option. There was only going to be the two. So by withholding votes, you're basically giving votes to Trump. And if you don't believe me, remember, he said he had 740,000. That was 2 months ago that that clip was taken. Watch this. This is the Independent, and they show the difference between the what Trump won by. In Pennsylvania, Trump won by 134,000. Michigan 80, Georgia 115, North Carolina 189, etc., etc. So in the big 7 swing states, Trump only won this election by 779,000 votes. So this could have swung. Just the number of votes he had total. Now, I'm not saying that necessarily those people would have been in those states, but the fact that we're talking, he could have swung 100, 200,000 votes in her favor, could have potentially changed the outcome of this election. So that's what drives me crazy about that. So by withholding that, they helped Trump get elected, whether they want to admit that or not. And they did it because they wanted to put pressure on Harris to do something about the Middle East. Well, she can't now because she's not president. Now, what's Trump going to do? Well, here's what Trump's going to do. So here's Al Jazeera. This is now Israel's response to Trump becoming president. This is what Israel wants to do.
Israel's far-right finance minister Bezalel Smotrich has said that he hopes to extend Israeli sovereignty into the occupied West Bank next year.
So now it's not just Gaza. Israel's talking about, well, we'll finish Gaza, we'll finish that genocide there. And it's not me calling it a genocide. That's the International Court at The Hague calling it a genocide. It's the UN that calls Israel an apartheid state. It's not me saying that. I mean, I agree with them, but it's not me saying it. So when they're talking about that, they're talking, we're going to finish the genocide in Gaza, where tens of thousands of people, over 30,000 have died, civilians that the Israeli government's killed, and we're going to then move into the West Bank push all those people out and kill them if we have to. And that's what she's saying. When you say, well, we want to declare our sovereignty. And if you don't want to take my word for it, here's her guest a minute later.
Has, of course, banned Al Jazeera from reporting inside the occupied West Bank and from inside Israel. Noor, so give us a bit more detail about what Bezalel Smotrich had to say and how this push would actually work.
Well, Bezalel Smotrich is not just the finance minister. He is a minister within the Ministry of Defense in Israel that is responsible for administering the occupied West Bank and for expanding settlements. So when he talks about enforcing Israeli sovereignty, he is talking about the Israeli annexation of the occupied West Bank, which we have to remind viewers is part of the Israeli government agenda. What he's saying is Donald Trump's presidency offers a golden opportunity for the Israeli government to finish the job. And this is really why Smotrich joined this government. Two things have happened in...
So I want to point that out because she just nailed it, that's what it is. Trump now makes the completion of this genocide very, very likely impossible for the Israelis, for these right-wing nut jobs in Israel. I'm not saying the Israeli people as a whole. I'm just saying the government that they have right now are all freaking nuts, and they're genocidal. And some of them are Zionists. Some of them think, oh yeah, if we can push all the Muslims out, then the Messiah will come, right? And then there are Christians in the United States that think, well, yeah, if they can push all the Muslims out, then cleanse Israel, then Jesus will come back. I mean, this is literally what some of these people think. It's insane. So if we kill enough people and wipe out a whole race, then maybe we'll be worthy of heaven. That's what they think. But they got Donald Trump now, and Donald Trump just took $100 million from Miriam Adelson, who's an Israeli-American who was married to Sheldon Adelson, and she's pushing for this. That was her whole deal with Trump is, if you give us the West Bank, I'll give you $100 million. She's already given him money for the campaign. Now they're just waiting for him to become president so this could pay off. And the Israeli government knows this. So all that's going on. So let's go back to Abbas al-Wahi, who was the head of the Uncommitted Movement at the DNC, talking about he got the 740,000 votes 2 months ago. He was probably over 1 million by the time the election came around. Here he is on CNN. I showed this clip from the Midas Touch, so I want to give them credit. But here he is on CNN complaining to Biden, which was amazing to me.
It sounds like ethnic cleansing. It's an ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza and the West Bank and southern Lebanon. And Mike Huckabee was just named as the guy who's going to oversee the final stages of that campaign. And so our message right now is to President Biden, you've got to do something about this. President Biden, stand up for once to Netanyahu before Donald Trump successfully gets away with pinning this legacy of this ethnic cleansing campaign on you and you alone forevermore.
So here's my thing. I agree with him. Biden should have done more. I agree with him. Harris should have taken a stronger stance. I agree. Here's where these people tick me off, because I've had this argument with them. I've had it online. People have written into me. Say more about this, say more about this. I can only look at it from a finance perspective because we look at it from our own lens. And that's what my specialty is. That's what I do. It's a risk-reward scenario. And that's all we do in finance is we look at what's the risk versus the return. The potential return with Donald Trump becoming president is genocide and movement into the West Bank and the wipeout of the Palestinian people. So if you don't want that, that is a risk you can't take, because that's a certainty that that's what he's going to do. On the other side, Vice President Harris, had she gotten elected, well, maybe she'd have done more, maybe she'd have just sort of kept it status quo, whatever, but she wouldn't have pushed for the annexation of the West Bank or the genocide of Gaza. She wouldn't have pushed for it, she might not have done much to stop it, but you could always push her to do something. Trump is already on the side that, no, just let him wipe them out. You withheld enough votes to flip this election. I'm not saying that that's what happened exactly, or that you're directly responsible, but you contributed heavily to it. And now you're trying to pin this on Biden? Biden's already got his shit legacy. I mean, there's nothing, but what can Biden do in 2 months? And even if he does something in the next 2 months, what's it going to matter? In 2 months, Trump's going to be president and he's going to do whatever the fuck he wants. I mean, I hate to say that. I agree with his position on Israel and Gaza and these Palestinians. I agree that should not be happening. We should have stepped in. I agree. My point here is you got to play politics and you have to be smart about it. And that's what didn't happen in this election. Is people were not thinking, they were upset. They were like, I don't like the price of eggs. I'm upset about inflation. Right? Oh yeah, I know they're all telling us we're having the greatest recovery and we have the best economy in the world right now, which we do, but I don't feel it personally, so I'm going to vote for the other side. Not realizing the other side wants to tank the economy and raise your taxes. Because that's what Trump's going to do. He's going to raise inflation. He's going to raise your costs. In fact, if you're lower income, you're in the bottom like 40%, 50%, your taxes are going to probably go up a little bit under Trump. If you're in the upper percent, they're going to go way down. Like my taxes are going to go way down next year once they push their tax bill. If they get even half the stuff they want, I'll be paying a third what I'm paying now in tax. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't have been that way. But that's what was on the ballot. And it wasn't going to be a third-party candidate. No matter how much you wanted it to be, it was not going to happen. So just go ahead when you think about these things. I just want to urge everybody, look, when you think about these things, it's the lesser of two evils. You could have asked me, well, do you like Harris? I'm like, she's okay. But, you know, I don't like Trump at all. I don't like any of his policies. So that's what I got to go with. I don't know what to tell you guys. Abraham Lincoln wasn't running this year. You got to go with what you got. You play the hand you dealt. If you're trying to play some imaginary hand that you don't have, you bluffed, and now you actually kind of directly contributed to Trump's win, which is going to directly contribute to the deaths of probably tens of thousands of more Palestinians. So, you know, I'm not happy to report on this. I'm not thrilled about it, but I wanted to comment because you guys voted for Trump. You didn't know what his tax policy was. You didn't know what his tariff plan was. You didn't know what a tariff was. I saw a thing where a guy was talking about voted for Trump because I want to protect my Affordable Care Act. I want to protect my health care, but I want him to get rid of Obamacare. And then they had to explain to him, that's the same thing. And he was like, oh, well, what do they give it two names? The Republicans gave it two names to confuse idiots like you, so you'd vote against it. If you don't know, you should check. But that's the thing. So yeah, I think that we're in this mess because people either didn't know, didn't care, or wanted to hurt other people and didn't think it would blow back on them. So that's just how it goes. I just wanted to use that for an example of thinking about what you want and thinking about it in a risk-return scenario. And in this case, he miscalculated it. He thought it was worth the risk to not vote for Harris to try and put pressure on her. And it was a huge miscalculation. Because what he should have done is got her into office and then put pressure on her. Especially if you've got 750,000 people, you can really turn the screw on her and make a big stink. But you can't do that with Donald Trump. You can protest all you want. It's not going to change anything. Well, anyway, thanks everybody. I just wanted to do that real quick. Please like and subscribe and all that stuff. Thanks for joining me, and we'll catch you guys later.
Thank you.